Amazing. Thank you all for tuning in into the BlackNorth Initiative Summit, and welcome to the Justice and Public Sector Committee's breakout session. Today's co-chairs are Mark Persaud, Akwasi Owusu, and Honourable Donald Oliver. They will be making opening remarks, and then they will take some questions. Towards your right, you'll see the Q&A feature that you can enter a question, and then at the end, if we have time, we'll get to all of them and answer them in the best way possible. Due to timing, we might be able to respond them towards in the next little bit, but please expect some answers from us. I will now call our co-chairs to say a few words.
Welcome all. My name is Mark Persaud. I'm the co-chair of the Justice Committee with my esteemed colleague, Professor Akwasi Owusu-Bempah at the University of Toronto. We also have Senator Don Oliver, who's the chair of the Public Sector Committee, who I will introduce more fully later. Now, very briefly, I've worked extensively with numerous ethnocultural communities, and in particular with the Black community since 1980, when I first volunteered with the then Canadian African Newcomers Aid Center of Toronto. I know what you're all thinking right now, probably thinking you could not have been doing all this work since 1980s because you barely look like you were 18 years old. But yes, it has been over 3 decades of working with these communities. Professionally, I'm the principal of the Persaud Law Group Professional Corporation, where I have a broad litigation practice, mainly in commercial litigation. I'm a former federal prosecutor and legal counsel to the RCMP. As well, I was an adjunct law professor in the United States. One of the facts that people find very interesting about me is that when I arrived in Canada as a youth, in the winter, fleeing political and civil unrest, I spent my first winter in Canada as a homeless youth until I was rescued off the streets of Toronto by the Scott Mission at Spadina College. But we don't have enough time for me to tell you about some of the specific work I've done, but it's always available on my personal website at Mark Persaud, my name, MarkPersaud.com. In the interest of efficiency, given the short time, I will talk for a few minutes about why I'm engaged in this initiative and what some of our plans are for the Justice Committee. I will then hand it over to my dear friend and colleague, Akwasi, who will similarly speak for a few minutes. Then I'll introduce Senator Don Oliver properly, who will then speak, and then we'll entertain questions. Now, the Justice Committee will initially be looking at the moving parts of the justice system. Primarily the first part, which is policing, secondly, trials, including the conduct of prosecutors, and thirdly, post-trial, including sentencing, rehabilitation, and reintegration. I'm pleased to let you know that we have already started some preliminary work in regards to working collaboratively with police to provide education and look at reforms. As you all know, this is the policing issue is the issue that precipitated a lot of this following the tragic death of George Floyd. And this is a very important aspect of our work that I look forward to working with Akwasi and my colleagues on. Now, Akwasi, go ahead.
Mark, thank you, and welcome everyone. It's nice to be here with you this afternoon. I'm a criminologist by training. I'm on the faculty in the Department of Sociology at the University of Toronto. In addition to my academic work, which focuses very squarely on race and criminal justice, and in particular on the experiences of African Canadians, African Americans, and people of the African diaspora around the world with the criminal justice system. I also have worked as a practitioner. I spent some time in judicial education. I worked in operational police policy for the province, and I've worked frontline with young people who are either in conflict with or stand a chance of conflict with the law. So I bring both a practical as well as an academic experience to this committee. One of the things that I find most promising here, as Victor mentioned in the larger address, is so much of the issues that we need to tackle with respect to the overrepresentation of African Canadians throughout our criminal justice system and the negative experiences that many have is, some of that is due to discrimination within the system, but a lot of it is due to a lack of opportunity within our society more generally, an increased risk of contact with the system, and creates a set of stereotypes that then go on to influence how people are treated by the justice system itself. So we have a lot of potential for great change here, and it's that potential that we hope to harness with the work that our committee will be doing in conjunction with the other committees, of course, and with the support of those of you out there. So thank you for being with us.
And now I'd like to briefly introduce Senator Don Oliver. I would probably need half a day to do it properly, so I have to give you the Coles Notes version. Senator Oliver was born in Wolfville, Nova Scotia. He's a retired senator, lawyer, and businessman, and he's devoted his entire life to public service. He graduated from Acadia University and was the class valedictorian in 1960, before I was born. Later, he won a coveted scholarship, and he graduated with an LLB from Dalhousie Law School. And for the next 25 years, he practiced law and became a senior partner. He was also a part-time professor at 3 universities, professor of law. He's worked with numerous charitable organizations, approximately 26, including the Neptune Theatre Foundation and a co-chair of the Canadian Council of Christian and Jews. And he was the founding president of the Black Cultural Centre in Nova Scotia. He was summoned to the Senate by Prime Minister Brian Mulroney in 1990, and he's the first Black man in Canadian history to get this honor. He served on several committees, including the Legal and Constitutional Committee. Now, very importantly, Senator Oliver was the catalyst and the main person in raising and spearheading issues of underrepresentation and racism in parliamentary institution, and in the public and private sector. And he's fought for diversity and equal representation all his career. He was a member of the representative to the first president of the Treasury Board on a committee that had to do with visible minorities and the public service, and that's where he and I met many years ago when I was invited to testify before that committee. He has engaged in so much work. He's been a tireless advocate and he's worked very hard, and I worry about who will be doing all his work now that he's not there. For his work in fighting anti-Black racism and making the case for diversity throughout Canada, he was awarded five honorary degrees. And earlier this year, he was awarded or last year, he was awarded the Order of Canada, something that he should have been awarded many, many years ago. And that's just a Coles Note version of one of the persons, Senator Oliver. Go ahead, Senator Oliver.
Thank you very, very much for that, Mark. I would like to take just a few minutes to take you through the government relations and the public sector component of the committee. And I want you to know at the outset that this committee is not out to just find ways for Canadians of African descent to get on the board of directors of things like the Bank of Canada or the CBC, or to become deputy ministers in the EX rank of public servants, or even ADMs. Of course, we would like them to be there, but there's a lot more to this initiative than just getting people on the board of directors. As Wes Hall, our founder, has reminded us, BlackNorth is about a fundamental systemic change of Canada from the omnipresent sting of anti-Black systemic racism into a dynamic, caring, innovative state where equality and the business case for diversity rule the day. But the revolution will not succeed only by the powerful corporate CEOs on Bay Street. It must also include the public sector, where, for instance, the 300,000 federal employees play a crucial role in dozens and dozens of essential things like business procurement. And we want to make sure that Canadians of African descent who are business people have their fair opportunity to have the government procure their goods and products. This committee will work with its action-oriented mandate to put in place mechanisms to ensure that no such government functions will be caught any longer in the web of anti-Black systemic racism. And when I talk about the public sector, it includes, of course, provinces, territories, municipalities, and already I must say I've heard from a cabinet minister from one province, and there's a call in from another wanting to say, what can we do to help? So that's most encouraging. We will also put in place a series of short and long-term deliverables that will begin next week, when Wes Hall and I are expected to meet with the clerk of the Privy Council, Canada's most senior public servant, to brief him on the BlackNorth Initiative and to analyze possible ways of proceeding with our mandate while, at the same time, we continue to obtain more CEO pledges in the public sector across Canada. We plan to make our meetings bilingual. And this is all very exciting, and as Mark has said, it's something I've been working on for more than 50 years, and there's never been a time in my life when I have sensed that we are about to see for the first time some real systemic change. But I want to say to you all who are watching that, and we don't have all the answers, we have an awful lot to learn, and we would love to hear from you. Please feel free to write us with your views, your concerns, and suggestions, and we are wide open to them. So thank you very much. Now, Mark, back to you.
Thank you. I think at this point, we will entertain any questions you may have. Are there any questions?
We're waiting on a few more, so if anyone has a question, please feel free to enter them at the Q&A feature.
While we're waiting, is there anything you'd like to add, Akwasi or Senator Oliver?
Akwasi?
No, I'm interested to see what come in terms of questions.
Questions are coming in. One of the questions is, why have we conflated justice and public service?
Sorry, can you repeat that? Why?
Why have we conflated justice and public service?
I think it's just for purposes of this, they put together for up, so we could both speak within the 15 minutes that was allotted, and there are 3 or 4 other panels going on concurrently, and they wanted to get as much covered about the committees on the platform as possible.
Next question.
Is there a written document that can be referenced during the pledge? Is there a written document on the committee mandate that can be referenced? That's another question.
The committees are currently being initiated, and the appropriate documentation will come out in due course, which I expect would be on the website of the BlackNorth Initiative. That's a new organization. We're still putting together the larger committees, and for example, our committee with myself and Akwasi, we are in the process of determining who our members are. We have several people to choose from, and it will come out in due course. And I suspect the same for Senator Oliver.
Yeah, we have received several names of some superb, excellent people, and I think that the steering committee's plan was to have committees of approximately 7 people, so that we don't need a committee of 20. So I think that 7 was their number.
We have another question, and it's for Senator Oliver. Thanks for your support over the years. What is the different about this moment in comparison to the decades you've been at this commendable effort?
I think that the recognition that people now know that there is such a thing as systemic racism, and they also know that we don't have to keep giving our examples because most people have heard them repeatedly. But the main thing is that on the white side, there is a growing recognition of the problem that flows from white privilege. And white privilege is one of those things that is the next major step that all of our CEOs and all of our deputy ministers are going to have to deal with in a whole series of committees that they have, particularly those dealing with the choice of someone for a promotion, because they have to make sure that there that is a relic of the privilege that a number of people have been living with for years. And so the study of white privilege is something that's going to happen this time, and it has never happened before in anything I've been involved in over the last 50 years.
Any questions?
We have a few more. In most cases, we'll have to get back to these questions in a timely fashion. Just give me 1 second. Will you be working the federal, provincial, and I lost that question. Give me just 1 second. Will you be connecting with the Ministry of Education as a topic needs to be taught in our Canadian history and the needs of our whole history?
We do have an education committee chaired by President Gervin Ferron, who's the president of Brock University, and that will come within the mandate of his committee. And I suspect, I can't speak for him, but that would be very much
And last question for today that we have time for. How does one get involved with a committee? Especially if they want to volunteer for this particular committee.
Well, you can submit your name. There's an email address for BlackNorth Initiative on the website. I would simply go and submit your name and indicate what your interest is, what committee you would like to serve, and any background material such as your work or volunteer background that will enable them to make an assessment of which committee or where you would be a good fit.
Amazing. If we have time, we're able to ask 2 more. Co-chairs, do we have time for 2 more? 2 more questions?
Sure.
Maybe.
I have the time.
Perfect. Will you be working with federal, provincial, and territorial Black causes of unions and associations?
Go ahead.
Go ahead,
Professor.
After you, Senator.
The answer is our mandate is pretty broad, and I have to have some more meetings with Wes and some of the other key people to determine just how far we'll extend the mandate. But we will never lose sight of what it is that we want to do in the public sector, and that is to break down the barriers of systemic Black racism in the public service across Canada in all its forms.
And similarly, from the justice perspective, like obviously there are a lot of kind of overlap between issues in various sectors and the need, one of the test is in dealing with the criminal justice system, opportunities in other areas will remove people from the justice system or make it so that they do not come into contact with the justice system in the first place, or at least that's the hopes. And so, from my perspective, with the work that we'll be doing, we'll be looking cross-sectorally in a large way, focusing our efforts, of course, on the justice system itself, but some of the justice-focused solutions may come from other areas.
They're all, as Akwasi pointed out, they're all interconnected. And we'll be drawing from some of the committees or working in conjunction with some of the committees on interests that intersect.
And just as a quick follow-up question to what has been discussed right now, how is the committee planning to measure success?
Well, from the Justice Committee perspective, Akwasi and I will be setting short and long-term goals, and what we hope to achieve within what period of time. So that will give us a measurement of what we have achieved over a certain period of time as we projected or as we planned.
The pledge also has in it that CEOs, deputy ministers, and other leaders have an opportunity to sign. It has in it many ways, many targets that they have to meet, and those targets will be measured on a quarterly, annual, or biannual basis, whatever is required. But there are ways of measuring success built into the pledge document.
Perfect, thanks, Senator Oliver. We have received over 50 questions in the last little bit. However, due to timing, we'll make sure to share these with you and circle back responses in a timely fashion after this webinar.
Yes, Senator Oliver and I will make sure that Akwasi responds to each and every one of them.
That's delegation if I've ever heard it. Thanks, folks.
Well, is that our time is up now? Is that the end of our time?
Unless we want to stick for a little longer, but yes, we've calculated until pretty much this time.
Is there any other question anyone who may want to ask before we go? One last question for us.
One last question, one last lucky question. Okay. Thank you, panelists. I'm wondering if, lost that question. Give me just 1 second. We're getting too many questions, so I keep losing the questions we're reading. So sorry about that. What is the summit approach to reconcile? Again, I lost it. Keeps moving up.
So what I'll do is at this time invite Akwasi and Senator Oliver to, if they want to make any closing remarks before I wrap it up.
Well, I would like to say that it's been an enormous pleasure for me to be on this panel and to have an opportunity to outline very, very briefly some of the things that the Public Relations and Public Sector Committee will be trying to do over the next few months. And it's just been wonderful working with you as well, Mark and Professor. And Thanks everyone for watching, and I can't wait to see some of the questions.
Thank you, Senator. I'll just finish off by saying, the unfortunate and tragic deaths of Black and Indigenous people here and in the United States has, brought us to this moment, which appears to be different than moments, at least in our recent history. And I think it's incumbent upon us that we take this opportunity to advance social progress in any way that we can. So I look forward to working with the committee and working with members and people who've signed the pledge to engender that. So thank you.
My sister-in-law, who's African-American, my brother's wife, read about the initiative. I sent her some material and she was so excited. She said, I wish we had something like that here in the US. We've always looked towards the Americans for these kinds of initiatives, and it gives me great hope and a great sense of optimism to see a made in Canada approach this issue that appears to be revolutionary, unique, and very importantly, that has potential depth and the ability to make lasting and deep changes. So I'm very excited about this initiative. All of us have looked over the years and felt as if we've been spinning our wheels. That here, I think we finally have something that we could really bite into and do something tangible about anti-Black racism. On behalf of my esteemed colleagues, Professor Akwasi and Senator Don Oliver, and on behalf of the BlackNorth organization, I want to thank everyone for your time and your openness to this initiative. This has been a great kickoff to learning more, listening, and collaborating. And we will keep you informed as we move forward. Please visit the blacknorth.ca website for updates and information on how to become engaged and stay involved. Once again, on behalf of my two distinguished colleagues and the BlackNorth Initiative, I want to thank you very much for taking the time and having the interest to join our webinar today. Thank you and be well.